welcome back to another episode of the Hot Dog Stand. The Hot Dog Stand is open. I am your founder of the IROC Challenge Series. Chris Wally, also a driver of the 51 Spartan Transportation Camaro. Thank you for coming in and listening to another week. We've got a lot in store for this week and looking forward to it.
Neil. All right, I'm Kyle Pendergraft, your executive producer of the Hot Dog Stand podcast, and next we've got Brian.
Brian, driver of the number 3 Spartan Transportation Machine Camaro.
Neil Quick, number 2 Spartan Logistics. I have no idea, but I hope you guys can hear me. But I'm doing the best I can. I don't know what's going on, but Brian McCann, like always, is a cheater.
You pulled the plug somewhere. And then we've got special guest Will Kimmel with us today. Going to dive in. He's done a lot of racing, and we're here to hear all about it. I'm glad y'all can join us, and let's get this thing kicked off.
All righty. So we're going to go ahead and give us a shout out to our presenting sponsor, Spartan Logistics.
Spartan Transportation and Spartan Logistic Management is your one source for all your shipping needs. 53-foot dry van shipments, auto transport shipments, full-service in-house brokerage, drop-lot facilities, just-in-time deliveries to all auto manufacturers, facilities in St. Louis, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Spartan Logistics, LLC, proud sponsor of the IROC Series, Kyle Steffens, UMP Modified and Silver Crown driver, and Gordy Gundaker, World of Outlaws late model. Visit us at spartan-logistics.net or find us on Facebook.
All right. Oh, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Show's yours.
man, we're excited. I'll tell you what. Mentioned we've got Will Kimmel as our guest. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Finally,
hey, man.
Nice to sit down for a little bit.
Absolutely, I imagine. We appreciate you being here. For our guests that don't know, I'm going to go through a few stats here to enlighten them a little bit of what you've been able to do across your career. Will's got, he's got 1 Truck Series start back in 2010, 6 Xfinity Series starts between 2011 and 2014, 2 Cup Series starts in 2015, but then we're looking at the ARCA Series, 130 starts, 2 poles, 18 top 5s, 43 top 10s in the span of 15 years. Sir, that's a lot of racing.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough when you got a starting park, and then those starting parks translate into actual starts. So it kind of skews your stats a little bit. But early on, man, that's how we had to get going.
Absolutely, you got to get that ball rolling. Everybody gets kind of started somewhere on that deal. I'll tell you what, even a starting park, that's doing a lot more than the majority, and a lot of us wish we could be out there. So we're pleased to have you, man. It's been a pleasure getting to hear about you and finally getting to chat with you. Is going to be a special episode today.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me on for sure.
Yeah, Will, you got from a racing family that dad and uncle, and it's got a kind of a storied history and past. I know. Kind of looking at some of the stuff here, I was just kind of wanting to know what possible all the cars you've drove. What are the best cars that you've drove, or your most favorite car you've drove?
Oh, my street stock, man. I love my street stock. That's the one that sits in the back of the shop, and not a whole lot of people get to mess with that one. So, it's a '67 Nova, Nova clip, Nova front and rear clip, leaf spring car that we run at Salem. That's kind of like my baby.
So, and just kind of enlighten the people listening. So Salem is a local, and it's a legendary track, and a lot of the NASCAR series drivers, a lot of your big time drivers started there, or not started there, but went through Salem. So it's a big
Yep.
place for here. Will is actually me and him are very local to each other, just a town apart from each other. So we share a lot of compassion for the same track.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You actually had to go Winchester, Salem, or Dayton. You had to go race in one of those three back in the 60s, maybe early 70s, to get approved to run the Indianapolis 500. So there's a lot of history with Salem for sure.
Yeah, I imagine there's some big names came through there that people probably don't even realize that are going to the tracks weekly. Just the history behind some of these tracks that we've been hearing about from our guests, and some that you're enlightening us with right there. I mean, that's something I didn't even know, that was
Right.
kind of that triangle of getting you into the big show there. That's pretty special.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my grandpa was. I don't know the number for sure, but he was one of so many people that went over the wall at Salem in his sprint car in 63, 64. I want to say. Dad killed me because I don't know the date, but he was one of the only ones to go over the wall at Salem and then live to tell about it, because they were when they went out, people were dying, obviously, because there was no cage. They barely had seatbelts.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
In regards, I've seen some of the video of the street stock, man, and that really is kind of some cool racing. And I know, being friends with some of the other drivers, they brought that up. My question is, on the street stocks. I mean, how many times do you guys run a year? I know I see the Salem deal. Is there other venues like that? I know that 200 lapper, and I mean, it brings out some great drivers. I mean, even Schrader has talked about it and stuff.
hmm Yeah, the thing with Salem, it's hard to run Salem week in and week out because it's so hard on your equipment. It's hard on motors because you're wide open for so long. You can't run used tires week in and week out, because even if you run 20 or 30 laps at Salem, your tires are shot. There's nothing left. It's a real high load track. 33 degrees of banking. My street stock, we run we're right at 124 mile an hour entering one. And that's on an 8-inch Comanche with stock suspension, stock brakes, and most of us make between 550 to low 600 horsepower. So it's a lot to put down, a lot to hang on to, and 200 laps is a lot for that car.
Yeah, I've seen you guys, and those cars are kind of amazing. That they're truly a stock car. I mean, that's basically what I see out of it.
Stock car. Yeah. They
Go ahead.
Passing
Oh,
tech
sorry.
might be
Go ahead.
another.
Go ahead.
No, passing tech might be another issue, huh? There.
No, that's the street stock. I'll elaborate real quick. The thing that makes the street stock so fun is we're not put in such a box like we are with the ARCA stuff. The ARCA cars, you can pretty much buy your speed for the most part. You can go buy a KBM car. You can go have Excel build you one, GMS, buy you a truck Elmore, get the latest updated spindles, drag links, all that kind of stuff. And you're going to go out and if you hold the gas down in a place like Kansas, you're going to be pretty fast. The street stocks, they're not like that. We can kind of work in the gray area. We can build our own lower A-frames. We can move these things around and kind of find that speed. And it's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you say that. I mean, it's really kind of neat to hear about a little bit of that. I mean, some of the guests we've had on the past and talking about the cars and what you guys do, it's kind of intriguing to us, all of us, to hear that part of it. So, but yeah, the ARCA car, I can definitely see the differences between it. But I'm gonna tell you, looking and watching some of the highlights of those street stocks, the action's just as good.
Yeah, when you have to build the car and then take it to the racetrack and then you race it, and you know what work goes into that car, it changes the way you race around other people. And you all kind of try to take care of each other because nobody wants to wreck. So, when you race against guys like Hudson and Chucky, and then Schrader comes in because Schrader understands how that racing works, we all kind of give a car in an inch, and we race really hard, and it makes really, really good racing. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, getting back to you real quick, just a quick thing. I know, talking to Schrader, Schrader built one of those, and we were just talking a little bit about this, a little bit carrying over from Salem and the street stock, but you guys were at DuQuoin for the ARCA deal. And I know he just got done building that Sportsman. I think he ran it up at Springfield on the dirt. and didn't have a whole lot of luck. But I had to laugh about this because I've been to his shop, and this thing come out of the cobwebs not too long ago, and he put it back together just to have another car to run up there.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, you must be liking my cars quite a bit because it's red and black with a white number. So that car
It
he
is.
run was it's really I'm really partial to it. I was like, man, that's the best looking car you've had, Kenny. But I think that was a Bullet chassis car, and Bullet was built actually on the way to Salem from where we're at. In Indiana. So that was pretty cool to see that car come back out. And last year at Springfield, they couldn't handle no part of that car when he ran it there.
Yeah, he said that. He said that they put it together and it would do anything besides go straight.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Keep him busy.
Yeah, kind of some of those neat stories.
So I have a question, and so we talk about Salem and how it's a local track to us, and the other local track to us is the Sportstrom. Do you? I mean, have you ever ran there? Have you ever thought about running there? Is it really just something that's just more lower class racing? That's just.
I started at Sportstrom.
Okay.
That's where I started. I started racing mini cups, which was a half size car, at Sportstrom when I was 10. I raced those all the way up until I was 14. We weren't, I was right on the edge of when younger kids started getting in full size cars. I was about 2 or 3 years behind that, in front of it, however you want to look at it.
So you were in the Ronnie Basham era and all them then.
I was coming out when Ronnie started. When Ronnie got his mini cup, that was about my last year. My last year was 03 in the mini cups.
Okay.
But we ran Legend car at Sportstrom. I've never actually ran a big car at Sportstrom. I've tested one there, and we take our ARCA car over there, and Mike lets me run my dirt tires in to get my stagger and stuff to come in for my dirt tires, because that's just right down from the street from my shop. So there's a great working relationship there. Like, I have nothing against the Drome. Super clean, super nice. It's stood the test of time more so than Fairgrounds, Louisville, Charlestown, and it's always been there. It's always been there. Pop started racing there in 1949.
Yeah, I mean, it's a legacy, for small town track, for sure. But getting back on topic here, I want to ask you, can you tell me about, your career from like when you first turned your first lap till current day, any family members you've got that's, into racing, just kind of like give us just a little 411 on, growing up in the racing life.
So the first time I raced was big wheels for Steamboat Days. Being from Indiana, you know what that is, right?
Yeah, or Jeffersonville. Yes, I do.
Yeah. So I started racing big wheels from 3 to 8, and Dad was taping my tires up and putting stagger in my big wheel with tape on the tires. Oh yeah, yeah. It was one lap, and yellow 5 and yellow Gatorade makes me go. Like that's, it's like nitrous. So it was like, here's your yellow Gatorade, Will. Go. And that was how I started. That was what I started in. Went from big wheels to RC cars when I was 8 to 10 years old. 10 years old, jumped in mini cup, and then 10 to 14, we had a lot of success with the mini cups. The last year I ran it, we toured with the MMRA. We toured all the time with MMRA from 2000 to 03. But we were 21 for 23 on racing that year. And the 2 races I lost, we were 2nd and 4th. And we were racing all around Lake Erie, Rockford, Anderson, Carthage, Tennessee, which was a 24-degree bank, quarter-mile track. The wall actually lifted up, and that's how you exited the track. And our mini cups were in the 12 seconds there as a quarter-mile track. And for reference, we're in like the 16s for Sportstrom. So it's 4 seconds faster and the same size because of the bank. It was unreal place. But we did a lot of touring with them. I stopped. I went legend car racing. I struggled in legend cars. I struggled coming out of a mini cup because it was half size and you sit in the middle. Everything's relatively close. Struggled with judgment, struggled with the wheels, struggled with everything as a 15-year-old. We got the legend car lined out the next year and was pretty decent. Like, we went and tested and we were really fast. They offered us money for it. I sold it, and I went straight from a legend car to a street super stock at Salem, which is actually faster than our street stocks, but the division's not there anymore. Ran a year in super stocks, went to late models, won the championship in the late model the second year, won my first race in the late model the first time I was in it at Salem. I believe we are the youngest to win a feature at Salem in a late model, and then I'm the youngest champion at Salem in a late model. And then from 07, it got rough. And it got rough because Frank and Dad split from Larry. They started their own deal right there in 08 and 09. My racing kind of took a back seat into what we were doing with Dad and Frank because they needed to focus and get their ARCA deal rolling. So 09 come. 08 was, we had no sponsor forward backed Frank. And then 09, they started the Menards deal, and that helped. But then my racing was very sporadic as far as 2 or 3 ARCA races, starting, parking, trying to get points for our numbers and stay on the gold plan and A plan to try to make this deal work. And then I've actually not run a full season until I went 2019 in the street stock at Salem. We won the championship in 19. We ran a full season there, and from there it's been, maybe 4, 5, 6 races a year. ARCA, what else? Street stock, pretty much whatever. I'm not real picky, just as long as it's a race car.
So you have I wouldn't say a backup driver, but you have a driver that actually runs majority of your races for you, and then you just kind of fill in different races here and there. Like I know Salem's one of them you're gonna be doing, and I'm sure there's a couple more.
Yeah, so that you're talking about Scott Melton.
Yeah.
And Scott is Scott's been a blessing for Kimmel Racing, absolutely 110%. He has allowed us to update. It's all his equipment, and we take care of it. So the cars that you see at the racetrack with the white and blue 69, those are his cars. And we take them to the racetrack. We maintain them at the shop, and he just shows up with his uniform bag. Super guy. All he wants to do is go and race and have a good time and finish the race and learn and try to make himself better and develop as much as he can. But he just started racing when he was 58. So he come into it late in the game, but he's a very smart man, and he understands where he's at, and that's half the battle. So with that happening, Scott allows us to run the street stock, keep the street stock in good shape, and keep my ARCA cars up to date, and just he's allowed us to make our stuff better because we can buy newer stuff for him, and then we see where we're missing at, and we can kind of fill in the gaps from there. And we made a large jump with our equipment since 2019 with some of our runs and stuff. I mean, this year at Charlotte, after his Talladega wreck, he put me in the car for 2 races. We finished 6th at Kansas, and we were running 5th at Charlotte. And we had a really good shot to run well up inside the top 5. Blew right front tire. So making leaps and bounds. But yes, Scott is the one that runs, I don't know, 6, 8 races a year with us.
Okay. And so I guess my next question would be is with you running, basically a part-time position in the 69 car, what more do you do outside of the car that doesn't necessarily pertain to getting in the seat and driving?
Well, I don't mean to, me and one other guy are hired in the shop. That's it. It's me and Zach, and then Dad pretty much runs the office. If I need it, if we're in trouble, then I'll make him come out and we'll go. But me and Zach do everything. Everything. That's why I can talk about what's going on at the front of the cars. Zach's a mechanical engineer from Purdue. And with what I know about race cars, we found middle ground to work on, and it works really well because he can explain the geometry and stuff and tells me what this angle is doing and load and all that. But we do everything from it's easier for me to just tell you what I don't do. I don't build the cars. I don't put the bodies on. I don't build the motors. That's it.
Okay.
That's the only things we don't do at the shop. Other than that, fabricate, seat mounts, mounting a motor. The 20 car that runs Salem is coming in. I'm doing setup work on it on the plate. That'll be Wednesday. So everything. It's a race shop.
Yeah, that it is. I've definitely watched some videos of it, and I drive by it every day. It seems like, and I see it, but I've never driven up there to it, and I'd like to, definitely come take a look at that and just, take in the scenery.
Yeah, the worst thing to do is wiring. That takes entirely too much patience, which is probably why I was so bad getting on here, because I don't have the patience to get on the computer and figure all this stuff out. I don't want nothing to do with it. And it's like I got a wire, so I had to figure it out, but not a fan.
I hear you. All right, Brian, I think you had a question, didn't you?
Yeah, so that was an amazing history of your career there, especially starting with the big wheels and working your way up. So my question is, from your earliest days from the big wheels until now, what was your favorite race and why?
Oof. Oh man, that's a good one. So immediately what comes to mind is 2010 Polar Bear 150. We were down there running the street stocks at Rockingham. There was 50 of us, which was the Frank Kimmel Street Stock Nationals. Kurt Busch was in the race. JD Fry, who is the car chief on Chase Briscoe's Cup car now, he was actually running Dale Jr.'s Camaro as a 78 Camaro, and I was running a 78 Nova, and then Kurt Busch was actually driving Frank's car, which Frank had built through Circle Track Magazine, and we led 147 to 150 laps. Kurt led the other three, and that was a huge win. We were fastest in practice, fast time, and won the race. That was big. Halloween race was last year. We won the Halloween 200, which was 10,000 to win at Salem. That was huge. That's where they started us 3 wide. And then this year we won the firecracker race, and I subbed for a guy, and he got out at 100. I got in at 100. They put me to the tail. The catch is you can't change but only one tire. So you got these 8-inch treaded tires. They're gone in 10 laps. They're falling off. I mean, they're going away hard. It's like if you guys sim race, right? That's what I've gathered. Okay, so when you go to Rockingham, your tire fall off is crazy. So that's what Salem does.
You're giving Chris Wallace.
Oh, you're cutting out, Neil.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's
guys.
what's in the background here is our race from Rockingham last week.
Okay. So does it fall off? Does it fall off bad there?
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's essentially what we go through at Salem. I mean, it's very close. We just don't have the shale in the pavement like Rockingham. Rockingham's got full blown seashells sticking out of the pavement there. But anyway, we have to run 200 laps. You get one tire to put on at 100, and then you run the rest of 200 laps on 3 tires, and you get a new one, which really doesn't do anything for you because you've been riding around trying to save the other 3, and you get the one new one on, and you basically put it on the right rear because everybody's trying to lean on the right rear here. And we started 18th, took the lead with 2 to go. We won the race. So those 3 races are well above the rest of them.
Yeah, it sounds definitely like some pretty wild racing there. I'll have to go back and look at that 3 wide start. I haven't seen that one, so that's one for me to go do some homework on.
You're sitting there listening to the one tire rule. You're just trying to implement
I'm like,
this in our series, man.
How can we do this with the series? Start, only change one tire, start 3 wide, invert the field, send McCann to the back.
That'd be a challenge.
It makes you earn it. It makes you earn it for sure. I mean, it's we had 47 cars last year at the Halloween race, and we come to green 3 wide. I started 12th, which was 3rd or 4th row inside, and I wasn't real pleased about that because there's just nowhere to go.
Oh, I bet. How wide is the track there?
You would ask me. 4 cars, top to bottom is, yeah. I mean, you got, yeah. There's, like I said, the street stock guys. This is nothing new for them. I mean, that's all the Halloween races are started 3 wide. But you got to be smart. I mean, you just got to. You can't. Nobody can get going really in the first 3 or 4 laps. You know what I mean?
Right. Spread them out
unless you're the leader.
racing.
Yeah. You got to. There's a lot of give and take there. It's really cool to see though.
Oh, I imagine. So through all that, you mentioned some big races there. Who was your favorite driver to race against through all of this?
Favorite driver to race against? I don't know. Nobody's ever asked me that. I don't know. it's funny. We talk about Schrader and we talk about, honestly, probably like people like Schrader and Frank. And it's not because I wanted to beat them, but I always wanted to be around them to see how they work through the race. Um, they were always so good at the end because they didn't hurt their equipment all the way through the race. They didn't even show, you didn't even know Frank was in half the races that he won until the end. If you go back, I mean, he just takes care of his equipment all the way to the end. And that's, I mean, it's absolutely part of it. And Schrader's the same way. So when you go back and you watch stuff like that as a driver, you want to see what they're doing and you want to be around people like that so you can kind of mimic that, figure out how to do it. I wasn't very good at it, but it's cool to race. It's really cool to race against those guys and learn from them.
Oh, I bet. Two legends there.
Yeah, I have a couple real quick here. Kind of to expand on Chris's deal, but I'm gonna go the opposite way. Who's the arch enemy for Will Kimmel to race against?
Oh man.
Or is there a list?
No, there's not a list. It's pretty easy, honestly. Um, my dad won 4 championships at Louisville, and they're 4 NASCAR late model championships. Okay, him and this guy named Keith Gardner went at it. Christina's sitting next to me. She's laughing right now because we were in the stands for this. I mean, this was intense. I mean, throwing beer on Dad in the uh, victory lane. It got heated to the fact that Dad had undercover police sitting around us in the stands because I was only 8 or 9 at this point. But Gardner and Dad went at it at Louisville. Absolutely went at it. And they didn't destroy each other. It was just if he got to Dad, he was going to move him up and root underneath of him, and it was always returned. They just hard nose. And Keith ended up winning a championship after Dad left and went to crew chief for Frank. So he ended up with 5 championships at Louisville. Well, fast forward to 2006. Guess who's running Salem? Keith Gardner. Guess who doesn't like Keith Gardner? Me. Now it's different. It's different when you race with somebody versus now. I have a lot of respect for Keith. Him and his brother Kevin are excellent at what they do. But me and Keith got into it at Salem probably 3-4 times. And that was the biggest rivalry I had. And it was a lot for me to work through because I'm 16, 17 years old, racing a super late, which is even different than what you consider a super late now. I'm running, we pretty much had ARCA motors in our super late models at that time. They were not a spec motor. They were a full-blown built motor, and we were running those at Salem. So I'm trying to figure out how to do all that. We won the first race out in 06, so I put a huge target on my back. And then we come back in 07, we won again, and then we won the championship. And I had to out-qualify him and finish right behind him in the feature or beat him. And he won the feature, and I finished second. And we won the championship by 1 or 2 points that year. So a lot of history there, a lot of emotion. But somebody had one of his hoods, and I have his hood of his late model hanging in our shop with Owen Racing on it, and it's from one of his cars. So it's just it's one of those things that they were as intense as we are racing, and we were going to butt heads no matter what. We were going to always end up being around each other on the racetrack. It was just one of those things, but wouldn't change anything for the world. And Keith is an excellent race car driver, and Kevin was just as good as a mechanic, if not better, in the pits taking care of his stuff. So that would be it.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to hear you talk about that. So many of us racers usually have that rivalry, that on-track rivalry, and as you talk to people, it starts out as a rivalry or a grudge between each other. So when you see one or the other pull into the pit, you know you're already in that situation. And the part that gets me is so many guys you talk to, they end up becoming friends down the road. It's that phone call, invited to the barbecue. It's like, hey man, this is a guy that 2-3 years ago we were fighting in the stands and families were going at it. But one last question. I know coming from the family that you have and all the guys you've raced against, is there a particular driver or even in your family that you really looked up to as a hero or somebody outside the family as a driver that you admired, respected on the track, off the track, kind of as a hero?
I absolutely 110% my grandpa. You know, Pop raced through the era of racing that made us get to where we were now. I mean, in a roundabout way. Obviously, he didn't race through the 80s and 90s. Dad and Frank were racing, but I highly enjoyed. You know, there's some old footage of him racing at fairgrounds, but all the memorabilia and all the stuff we have from Pop. I said Papal because I'm actually at my sister's in Papal's house, and that's where we're doing this at. But all the stuff we have from Pop is so cool to have. Um, you guys still got me? My screen just froze.
Yeah, we
Oh,
got
we're
you.
good.
Yeah, we got
Okay.
you.
All right. So all the stuff we have from Pop is super cool. The number, the paint scheme, everything I run today is all from when he raced. And you know, he raced for a living and he raised 7 kids doing it that way. So that's obviously my hero. And then, you know, I'd be lying if I said, you know, watching Dad and Frank and stuff growing up, that didn't play a big factor into it. Even after everything that happened between Dad and Frank, it's the fact of the matter is, you know, I wouldn't be like I am if it wasn't for both of them, and try to play, you know, factor both their styles of driving in because they were stark opposites in the race car. Dad would kill you in 40 laps, and Frank would be like eighth still. You know, start 10th, he'd be eighth, and he just kind of because he was always in that uh, pace mode from the ARCA deal and running these long races. But in the long races, you know, Frank was super hard to beat. So always trying to incorporate both aspects of their driving into mine. But you know, Pop's definitely at the top of that list for sure.
Very cool. Very cool.
So, let's go back down memory lane just a little bit here, and we had briefly touched on this before we even started recording here. Can you go ahead and just tell us like what you saw, what you thought, the moment that you knew that you were in for trouble at Mobil? And I'll for the viewers here, I'll play a little video of what we're talking about here.
So this starts. This was one of the first really nice race cars that we got our hands on from Robbie Gordon. We bought this thing. It was a Camping World car. Man, the body was all tricked out on it. The tail section's all moved over. It's just all looks like a banana. You know, flat right sides, a steel body car, not like composite stuff we have now. And we were good. We were like 4th fastest in practice, running 4th in the race. Come to green. They had just put restrictor plates on us. So this is a key little detail here. They just put restrictor plates on us and we can only turn 8,000. So it takes all the wind out of the motor. I mean, there's just nothing. Like, you know, we go from running 790, 800 to the wheel, and now our motors are making 660 at the wheel. You know, they took all this power away. So to compensate for that, you drive in the turn deeper, especially on a restart. You know, you're coming from second gear off of 4. You're not going to be at full speed going into 1. The whole field drives in deeper, especially at this level of racing. Like everybody's going to drive in deeper. So I was on the outside. I wanted to try to get 3rd, maybe 2nd, depending on how the outside went. So I drove off into 1, and I drive all the way down into 1, and I'm what feels like almost in the middle of the turn. And when I come off the gas, my heart just stopped. I was like, oh no. And I never had a wide open issue before. Never had a throttle stick. Never had anything like this happen. People say, well, you should be lucky a wall wasn't there. I'd wished I'd hit a wall because I would still have a race car to work on. And we could have put a front clip on it. It wouldn't have bent the right side rails. The car took off. I immediately went to the brake. I didn't go to the clutch because I didn't want to blow the motor, which it actually didn't hurt the motor, but I didn't want to lose our motor. So I went to the brake, and then people are telling me, well, you should have reached up and shut the ignition off. No, my hands weren't coming off the wheel. I promise you that. Went off the bank, went on the limiter. The car went up. It kind of nosed over from the nose weight. As it nosed over, it hit. It took a big tank slap, slapped the rear end down, and then it stood back up on its nose, kind of like on the right front headlight. And it was still going over towards these Jersey barriers. When I was in the car, the thing I remember was I was watching out the right side of the car, trying to look out the window because I was afraid I was going to hit on the floor pan, and the floor pan has nothing to support anything coming in. They're not made to hit on the bottom. You know, it's sheet metal that's underneath your feet. And I was like, if I hit there, I'm in trouble because that's where my seat mounts. Everything's going to come up, and there's nothing I can do. But luckily, it went over, and it actually hit on the right side halo, and that there's a jersey barrier that kind of stuck out, and it hit on that halo, and it hit the top of the halo and the top of the cage. It moved it in about 2.5 foot. I could reach over and easily set my right hand on the side of the cage. It hit that, spun, and as it spun across the grass, and the nose of it caught underneath the pickup truck. I sat there because usually when you have these wrecks, a lot of things happen in the car and you don't know what's broke because adrenaline, you just don't know. I was like real easy because I'm not good with blood, needles, anything medical. I'm not good with that. The last thing I want to do is have my big 250 pound ass passed out in the car with my helmet and everything on, and then they can't get me out. Like, I just didn't want to do that. So I'm real easy, like trying to move my toes, and I'm making sure my hands work, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then I got out, and the car is just killed. I mean, it pulled welds on the left rear off, and we never hit the left rear, you know, the way it bananaed the car around the jersey barrier. But a testament to LaJoy seats. I think you just had Randy on here not too long ago.
We're actually getting ready to have him in next week or two, hopefully.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, perfect. His seats, man, second to none. I put that seat. Well, the seat was mounted, and when you have a big hit like that, you always just kind of take the bolts out, take the nuts off, and see if the bolts and stuff have come out by hand. Because if they do, that means nothing moved, and that thing come right out. And that's actually the seat that I just ran at DeCoin. So
wow.
that thing, yeah, you get them recertified every 2 years. They get recertified, so they get updates. But yeah, that's the Mobil story, and that car, that was absolute terror trying to get that thing in the trailer.
Now,
and it's in.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's in June. That's the one that's in Junior's graveyard.
Okay. Well, we were actually going to ask you about that and where that thing sits, because it had been said that it sits there, but I didn't know what the truth was. But my question really pertaining to this is about how far off is the jersey barriers, and then how far from the jersey barriers is the truck that you slid up underneath?
The truck and the jersey barriers weren't. Go ahead.
I was going to say the truck is a spectator's truck, not a truck for racing.
Yeah, that guy wasn't nearly as, like, I was happy because I didn't tear his truck up, and I didn't know how any insurance would work, but I was like, I hit your trailer hitch, no big deal. He wasn't real cool about it. Like, he was just kind of, he was like, well, whatever, all right. I was like, okay, well, you got a race car stuck underneath your truck. That's kind of a cool thing, I guess. You know, it didn't tear anything up, didn't hurt anything, but I don't know. The jersey barriers were easily a couple 100 foot. Easily. I mean, I went off the track wide open, fourth gear. We probably had a 486 ring opinion in it, something like that. So, you know, it puts you somewhere in the 130 mile an hour range. Factor in some brakes. But if you there's a picture of Grant and whoever was leading, I can't remember, going through the turn, and they're on the bottom of the track, and you can see me going off the top of the track, front tires clearly locked up and just hanging on. So I would say well over 100 mile an hour is what I exited at and went off the banks.
That's crazy. So the guy wasn't cool about it at all then.
So whose idea was it to put it in Junior's graveyard?
I don't. Christine, do you remember how that came about? Junior's graveyard? No, I don't remember. It may have been one of mine because I wanted it out of the shop. I got tired of moving it, you know, and somebody had said you need to call him and see, and I was like, he's not gonna want. Why? But it had you know, he wanted something with a cool wreck type of deal, and if there was a cool wreck, I mean, I guess, you know, of the good things, that was it. But I got a hold of him. I took it down to Junior Motorsports and dropped it off, and that's where it sits today, just like it was. And it's just kind of neat. I mean, there's nothing I was gonna do. I was gonna take and junk it, you know, scrap price. So it ended up being for the better. So everything worked good. To be honest, I don't remember where that idea come from, but it worked out well.
Marshall Junkyard would have loved that.
Yeah, somebody would have kept it for sure. For sure.
Yeah. So I think we're going to be wrapping up the Q&A section here. Anybody else got any questions before we move on?
I've got one more for you right here. Just kind of let us know what you got going on now. We've heard all about the past. What do you have going on right now and coming up the rest of this year on into next?
I got kids. I got kids going on right now. I got 3 kids that when I get a chance to sleep, I sleep. No, but we got a lot. We just got back from Kansas last night. We're supposed to race on Saturday. We didn't race Saturday. We raced Sunday. Got rained out. All that. So right now we're going to Salem here, and it's 2 weeks from this weekend. We race Salem with ARCA car, and then we do a lot of stuff with the 602 series that's at Salem right now, which is all the old steel body ARCA cars, and they run a 602 crate motor on the street stock tires. There's a spring rule in place. All this just keep it really cheap. We're renting three of those cars out for the Halloween weekend, which is coming up at Salem, which is October 2nd or 3rd or something like that, or no, mid-October. I can't remember the date that the street stock it's 11,000 to win this year, but we're going to try to run that in the street stock. We'll run Salem in the ARCA car, and then we got the 602 stuff. That's about what I got left for this year. Then we'll go to Daytona test in January, race Daytona in February with Scott, Talladega with Scott, and then he'll do the intermediates. And then I'll probably go back to Dirts and Salem for next year, and then fill in some stuff with the street stock, schedule permitting. And then my oldest son is running quarter midget, and his junior champ just come in that we got from Prowler. It just come in today, so that's going to be going on this winter. Try to get that thing together.
But you'll really be doing some racing once he gets going.
I'm gonna be broke for life. Like it's done. Like I might as well get used to White Castles, McDonald's, Wendy's, all that. I just can't tell my wife that.
That road life.
Yeah, you kind of answered one of the questions I had was the next generation of Kimmel coming up there. To kind of tie into that, just a quick question. With us doing what we do for fun, doing iRacing, does your son, yourself, do you guys do a lot of sim racing or mess around with it?
You're gonna laugh, man. You're gonna laugh when I tell you what we use. I have ARCA sim racing, and I have a simulator with that on it.
Really? That's awesome.
Yep.
How far back are we dating on that?
09.
Ooh.
Yeah, it goes back to our kind of mine, Brian's NASCAR 4 and NASCAR 2003 days.
Yeah. Oh man, NASCAR 4. That was good. That was a good one right there. I played a lot of that when I was in elementary school and early years. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that kind of started it for me, is kind of the carryover from, I guess, the console games. But you got NASCAR 4, and then it kind of carried over to 2003, and I look at it nowadays and kind of just turn back the clock and look at what we do now. It's like, holy cow. But man, I'm gonna tell you, one of the things that would be really cool would be to have Salem in the game. Chris is up there watching highlights from Rockingham and crabbing how much and bitching how much and rough and crazy track that is. Salem, you'd if you had
a candle,
you would just jumping through the corners.
Yeah, man. They paved 3 and 4, and 3 and 4 is fine. It's not bad, but 1 and 2, going into 1 and 2 right now, it's bad. And then they patched it. It stays together, but it's not the smoothest. So there's that. But no place.
Added some rumble strips there.
Yeah. That's high speed rumble strips. Great, especially entry to turn. That's exactly where you need them.
That place is absolutely crazy, and character-wise, I know I do a lot of open wheel stuff with Brady Bacon and them guys that are up at Winchester, and the same kind of vibe and feel. You look at the tracks, and they're almost like sister type venues, but man, they're just character rough and tumble and make great race car drivers, guys that come out of there.
Man, Winchester is that's the one place I want to go with my street stock. I haven't been there, and we've only went to like 1 or 2 other places with my street stock. Just time wise doesn't allow you to really get into it, but I was able to do a Hoosier tire test at Winchester, and Hoosier brought me 10 sets to test. And we started hitting the rev limiter at 8,800, so we just went ahead and turned the rev limiter up to 9,200. And one of the sets of tires, pole was like low 15s in the ARCA car at that time. No, I can't remember. But anyway, we ran like 10 laps straight on this set of soft tires that Hoosier brought. And that was probably the most fun I'd had in an ARCA car, was how hard you could run the car, how stuck it was. And then to get to do it at a place like Winchester was awesome.
Neat place, neat stories to go with it. But man, appreciate all the answers to questions tonight, man. It's been cool to see this and get to talk to you.
No, I appreciate it. I enjoy this. This is my life. So this is all we do. So it's cool to get to share it and talk about it.
All right. So Brian or Chris, y'all got anything to ask?
Good, man. I appreciate the time. Appreciate you joining us today for all this. It's been awesome.
Amazing hearing those stories. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Most
Absolutely.
definitely. So just to touch bases here, to let the listeners and viewers get up to date, we have created a new avenue for us, and we're going to get into the video documentary aspect of it, and we're going to start following around some race car drivers. My first one here will be Mr. Will Kimmel himself, and I'm going to actually be going to Salem with him for his ARCA race, and kind of just follow him around the camera and record and kind of, stand in the back, but yet still, try to get as much footage as I can, pre-race, during, opening laps of the race, throughout the race, post-race, and then I'll edit it and put out a video within a few weeks of recording. So look for that. It's going to be called Fastlane. So look for that to be coming out here in the next, I could say, we got 3 weeks till Salem, you said? So probably by the 1st of November, I should have a video released. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and send us over to our next sponsor, Sim Coaches. Thank you all very much. Let me take a minute to tell you about my experience using Sim Coaches pedals. I myself am a current owner of the Sim Coaches P1 pedal hydraulic pedals, and I have to say they have made my racing so much better and easier, and I highly recommend that you go and you check out these pedals and get a set for yourself as well. You'll find yourself able to get into the corner deeper, brake harder, exceed the limits that you normally would take. Don't take my word for it. Go check them out at simcoaches.com and use our promo code to get 5% off IROC at checkout, or visit simcoaches.com/IROC to receive your 5% off. Thank you. Alrighty, we are back, and guys, if you got them, it's gonna get them flags out. We're gonna go green flag, black flag. Who's ready?
Let's go.
Brian, you got yours? Neil, you got yours?
Yeah, they're here. They're just up there, and I haven't grabbed them yet.
All right. So, for those of you who don't know what the green flag, black flag is, it is green flag, you agree with the statement or question. Black flag is, no, you don't agree with it. So you'll see us throw our flags up for whatever one we may decide here. Neil, I'm going to let you take over here and ask the questions, and we will join in. And Will, you're also allowed to join in and give your opinion as well. Take it away, Neil.
Yeah. Thanks, Kyle. I'm gonna start off with question number one. I'm gonna throw this out, and I'm gonna kind of work my way around. I'll start with Brian McCann, go to Chris, Kyle, and then Will can chime in, and I'll throw in my last 2 cents here. But the first question I have, a high limit sprint car series, formed by Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson. Open wheel sprint car racing. Of course, you have the World of Outlaw series. You have the All Stars. Does sprint car racing need another series running midweek with all the series that are currently out there? All Stars, World of Outlaws. You have the big races up in PA, California. You have the ASCS National Series. Green flag or black flag? Brian McCann.
Green flag. Racing is racing. If you can get guys on a track to run a race, let them run.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm gonna go green flag with that one too. To Brian's point there, gives guys opportunities, right? Opportunities to get on track, opportunities to be seen racing with a series that will have some support to it. So could springboard some of these guys up to some of the series that have been established for a while.
Kyle.
I'm gonna go Black Flag, guys. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go Black Flag on this one. I'm gonna stir it up a little bit. I know for me, as one, I'm still new to the dirt racing scene as a fan, and there's a lot of it everywhere. I can't keep up with it, and for there, to add another series to it, that's just another thing I gotta either go online and find, or go ahead and subscribe to Flow or whatever it may be, just to get the content to see what's going on. So another series not needed. I think you just need to join what's out there already, and maybe even condense what's out there into a couple smaller or a couple bigger ones, should I say, and make it a lot easier for me.
Hey, Will, do you have a comment on this one?
I'm gonna say green flag. I like when there's a difference in series that people can go and choose to run. I think it makes cars. It gives you car count, and it builds that car count in the series, in other series, as long as they stay off each other's schedules. I think that's a big key. But I definitely see where Kyle's coming from. I understand that completely. But yeah, I'm with it.
My own opinion on this, I'm torn both ways, guys. I'm going to go green and black flag, and I'm going to tell you why. After hearing your guys' opinion, and I know this has popped up a lot in my office and in discussions and so on, I think there's a green flag for the racer. I think this is a great series for the racers to be able to. Dirt racing, you run into a situation you have a lot of rainouts, rescheduling, stuff like that. The biggest problem I see possibly with this is other series is stepping in and saying, "Hey, you can't run this series midweek if you're a World of Outlaw Platinum member." That could be a possibility. But as for a racer, I could see this as generated income. Speaking of Will here, he'd probably tell you he'd race every day if he could. But keeping up with the cars and maintaining it might be the downfall of that for the racer side. As a fan side, I definitely hear Kyle's black flag. I mean, how do you keep up social media, Flow Racing, all the different events that are coming out there, and more so than ever, the events just keep piling on top of each other on any given weekend. Whether it's World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, late models, modifieds, it all adds up. ARCA, you're trying to keep up with all these different facets of racing. Just another series to keep up. So kind of torn between both of them. I'm going to go green and black and make all you guys mad on this one, okay?
All right, TJ.
On question number 2, we're going to go with the stock car one here. Changes in NASCAR, changes in the car, changes in venue, going street racing in Chicago, going back to Wilkesboro for the All-Star race. Is this the direction that NASCAR needs to go to grow the sport, guys? Brian, start it off.
Green flag. I like change. I can speak to that part. I like going to new tracks. I like to see him. I like to race at Chicago. I really like to see him go back to Wilkesboro, like you said. I don't have a good answer for, is that the direction NASCAR needs to go? Not really sure there.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you a little bit there, and I think the talk out there is definitely NASCAR being open-minded to a lot of different guys. So I'm going to throw it to Chris this time.
Yeah, so I'm going to go green flag again. Now, had they not have brought North Wilkesboro back, I would not have been okay with it. Had they just said, "Oh, we're going to the street course at Chicago," we've got Chicagoland Speedway right down the road that's doing nothing. So I understand going into the new venues, trying to get more people interested. Growing up, my father, we're down here in the South, so we've got dirt track racing going on down here. I feel like that in our area, dirt track is kind of king in this area with Brunswick Motor Speedway and Waycross, and we see the old tracks here locally, and that's what I think people want to see more of, those short tracks. I don't know how many people are really excited about going to the street course. I do think that it's going to get more eyes on them. We see the LA Coliseum. that was, you can look at it and say it had to have been a success, right? They're going back. So you're getting more eyes in some of these bigger venues, but to see Wilkesboro come back, to see that, that quick, they've turned around, already have a cup date. It kind of sky's the limit, right? You hear about Nashville Fairgrounds possibly being something coming back. So gonna go green flag to the changes, hoping for more of the same. Bring a little history back to it.
Yeah, good point there, man. Definitely like to see some of those old places like Rock and Nashville Fairgrounds get a shot too. Kyle, what do you think?
Green flag all the way. Green flag. I think the change is perfect. I think NASCAR has gotten into a slump here lately with their, well, as we've seen the old car. I mean, it was, if you were, one of the big three, then you had it. So the change in the car is perfect. I wasn't a fan of the car when it first was introduced, but after watching it run and seeing how it, it's made racing so much better, and it's leveled the playing field. I think the change is perfect. When it comes to changing, venues now, like Chris said, you got Chicagoland up in Joliet, just down the road. Why do we need to go to a street course there? I get the uniqueness of it. It's something totally different for NASCAR, and it kind of gets the downtown area involved, I guess you'd say. But that's not what NASCAR was formed on, was racing downtown or, on a road like that. So I'm kind of on the fence on that one, but I'll still go green flag because the North Wilkesboro thing just really got me going. I was so excited to hear that. I vaguely remember any races at North Wilkesboro, and I'm in my 30s, so I didn't really become a NASCAR fan until the late 90s, but I knew what NASCAR was. I had watched some on TV before then, so to actually be able to now see a race and remember it, it's going to be awesome. I'm very excited for that. So I'm going green flag.
Very cool. Good points there. And Will, what are you thinking about the new stuff that's going on with NASCAR, new cars, new venues?
I started struggling with our cars when and these things trickle down through the series, because the ARCA cars aren't going to be allowed to outrun the Cup cars. They don't like that, and there's been instances where we have tested Michigan, and the ARCA car was running 212, 215 mile an hour going into one, and we show back up to the races and say, hey, put this 150 restrictor or tapered spacer underneath that carburetor so you all don't go so fast. That happened because the car, the COT at that time wouldn't run as fast as our steel body cars with our big motors in them. So I have an issue with the car. It's not with the car itself. It's the fact that I just don't know why NASCAR keeps taking our motors away and putting us in these boxes where we're running, and we're so dependent on air at places like Atlanta, where you're seeing drafting, Kansas. There's hardly no off throttle time. We're still sealed up on the ground, and we're just playing aero games at this point. Get the cars off the ground, put them on a tire that fires off super hard, and get 2 to 3 seconds of fall off in there, and put the motors back in it that made 1,000, 1,100 at the crank like they did in 2014, and turn them back up. It's the elite series. They're meant to run. Don't turn them down. My street car shouldn't make more horsepower than my ARCA car, and it's really close. So that to me is an issue. Track wise, I have no issue. I wasn't a fan of the Coliseum going there, but it was awesome racing. That was cool. It played out because it's short track stuff. We need more short tracks. There's no doubt in that. I mean, that's what every one of us sit here and just said. It's awesome to see a Wilkesboro back in the deal, because they're going to race hard. They're going to rub on each other, and they're probably going to wreck and tear stuff up. We don't want to see that necessarily, but the hard-nosed racing is what all of us want to see. So those tracks lend more to that. The road course thing, as a driver, I love road courses. They keep you busy, keep you on your toes, and it's a lot of fun in the seat, but they can be hard to watch because you get spread out and it just becomes you racing the track, and that's kind of hard to watch from a spectator standpoint. That's kind of where I stand on that. Sorry, didn't mean to go that long, but
No,
you
you're
said
good.
car, and I was like, "Oh,
No.
buddy, I got something for you here."
Yes, go for it.
No,
We want to
no,
hear it.
it's interesting to hear that. I mean, and again, with friends and guys like Kenny Schrader and some of the drivers that we talked to, it's interesting to hear you say what you said in regards to the car and more horsepower. In fact, I believe Harvick went out and made the comment to turn the horsepower back up to 900 horsepower on these things. Plus, let the drivers drive the cars. I agree with you. I'm going to go green flag on the racing venues. Black flag still on the car. Yes, we've got 18 winners, and it's more competitive than it has been. But again, I still believe watching the racing that's going on, it can be better out there. Um, there are some complaints with the cars. I love the looks of the cars. I just wish they raced a little bit better, like you said, getting them all off the ground, letting the cars travel a little bit more, having a harder tire. We talk about these venues going back in Winchester and Salem and Rockingham and these tracks having these worn surfaces, and Wilkesboro's coming back for this single reason. They had a late model race there and put all these fans in there, and Junior brought it back. And look, we're going back to that. I'll get back on that here just in a second, but not to get too long-winded here. I agree with you 100%. The venues, green flag, car, black flag, I would probably have to go 50-50 on this. One other thing, Will, next week they announced 15,000 at North Wilkesboro to run a street stock race during the week of the All-Star race. Are you there?
What for the All-Star? Yeah, I'm going
No,
for
no, no.
money. That's what we do. No. I'm not going for the All-Star race. I'm going for the street stock money.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to load it up and you're
Yeah,
going to go.
as long as it's not a 602 race with the Mass Series has a good series, but we wanted to go run that, but they changed it to Mass rules, so you had to run a 602 and then you run a 10-inch tire. That's all I'm gonna say about it. But our street stocks pretty much run an open motor as far as its cast iron heads, aluminum intake, and you get penalized if you run a 400 or a 410, and I run a 358. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, they have open motor rules and keep us on a Comanche or whatever tire they want to put us on. Yeah, we'd be there.
All right, I'm going to jump to, got two last quick questions here. Don't have to spend a whole lot of time on them, but question number 3, dirt late model racing, World 100 this past weekend. Jonathan Davenport goes out and gets his 5th win in 7 years. Is JD's dominance of the big races this year and his dominance over the last couple of years hurting late model racing? Brian McCann.
Not 100% sure, but if you're winning, you're winning. So I gotta go green flag on that.
That would be an Earnhardt fan, of course. Chris Wally.
Yeah, so as far as is he hurting the sport? Is it good for late model racing? I'm gonna go black flag, mainly because as a spectator, you want to see the competition rise up. Now, it's their job to get the job done, but nobody wants to see the same guy win all the time. You start creating winners penalties and all these other things because you get the same winners. McCann over here knows what I'm talking about. That's why he throws
He's
the green
smiling
flag
ear
at
to
it.
ear.
Look at him. If your last name is not McCann or Smith in our series, you're struggling to get a win. So, I think when one person dominates in racing, in sports, I mean, hell, how many people hate Alabama because of what they've done in college football? Nobody hated Alabama in 2009. Who cared? But, you get guys that are taking over something. We just like to see change. We just talked about change. We want to see somebody else rise up.
All right, Kyle, hit us.
I'm going to go black flag as well. I agree with Chris 100% there. He took the words right out of my mouth for the most part. But yeah, like he said, though, it is the other, competitor's responsibility to step up their game and get out there and kick his ass now. Not physically, but on the track. And so, I think it's not going to really hurt anything as far as driver count or spectator count. But at the same time, it's like, do I want to go out there and get my ass kicked by this guy every week? Or do I want to go out there and prove myself and kick his ass this time? So it's all in how you look at it. So I'm going black flag.
Interesting you say that. I just one of those comments, and why I put this question out there, was talking to another racer the other day, UP modified driver, and the Nick Hoffman dominance. He basically said that he was going somewhere else because he knows he can't beat Hoffman. He's got to run second to him wherever he's at. So same thing that I think a lot of the late model guys are starting to think. And in regards to JD's tweet this morning, that if all the cars went the same speed and drove the same way, they would be boring to watch. So I guess he was kind of making his reference to NASCAR in this case. So, but I'm gonna throw this out to Will. What do you think on this, Will?
To be the best, you got to beat the best, and there's no better time to run a dirt late model if a guy's winning this much. And you can, I mean, these guys go through. So green flag, sorry.
No,
make
you're
sure
good.
I say that right. But we saw, Bloomquist was dominant early 2000s. I mean, Scott Bloomquist won everything. And then, you had some, the other guy that drives, I don't keep up my dirt late model stuff like I should, but Jimmy Owens. Jimmy Owens went through a big win streak, and he won a bunch of stuff. And then Bloomquist faded out. So you kind of see this over time. So I don't think it's hurting the car count. But as a dirt late model guy, and, Gibbs was hard to beat in ARCA. Last year when Ty Gibbs was running, but did it ever deter me from going to the racetrack? No, I just wanted to beat him with what I had, to say that I did it, so no, as a racer, no, go ahead and keep winning. If I can get my stuff together, then I want to give you a run for your money and beat you when you're at your best.
Awesome. Very good. Last question, guys. With the announcement of the All-Star race going back to Wilkesboro, Jimmy Johnson is back in play. If Jimmy would come out of retirement and coming back to the All-Star race for North Wilkesboro, is it a green flag or a black flag for the sport?
If he does, I guess I gotta go green.
You think him coming out of retirement, leaving IndyCar, running the All-Star race, hasn't run a couple years, coming to Wilkesboro just to race the Wilkesboro race, green flag?
Yeah.
Okay, just throwing it out there. I've got my thoughts in my head already the way this whole panel's going, so I kind of thought you might be a little bit different on that one. Chris Wally.
I'm going green flag on this one. Here's why. Money, money, money. How much merchandise is he going to sell? How much merchandise is NASCAR going to sell? How many tickets are they going to get? Just people that would love to see Jimmy one more time, right? Put Junior in a cup car and let him run one more race, and it's going to be huge. He ran in a late model race, and that place sold out. It'd have probably done it anyways with that deal. But, Jordan came out of retirement, blew up after that, right? So is it all money? No. Jimmy would probably love to actually just be a part of it because of the history of everything. But at the end of the day, it's a big business as well. And I think that that's going to set him up for the year on that one event.
Yeah, I agree with you on all points there. Kyle.
Green flag, guys. I mean, who doesn't want to see Jimmy Johnson back on a short track oval at North Wilkesboro in a cup car where he's been MIA for 2 years in retirement, and we see that his IndyCar seasons are struggling. So I think that one-off race at North Wilkesboro might just do Jimmy a little bit of good and confidence there, because I think he'd be a pretty dominant driver. Granted, given the lack of experience with the next gen car now, but I'm pretty sure he could adapt pretty easily.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Hey, Will, what's your thought on this?
Good for the fan base, good for media. I was a huge Jimmy Johnson fan. The way he carried himself, the way he handled himself through all the years of winning the championships and stuff, I don't think it's going to be in his favor to come back and run. These guys do it week in and week out. Junior ran the Xfinity race last year at Martinsville. If you listen to his interview after the race, he said, "I've been out for too long. This didn't go like I wanted it to. These guys are tough." And coming out of Junior Motorsports, they probably made sure his car was pretty good going into that race. Not taking any away from Jimmy Johnson. It's just that's not a car. This isn't the Gen 5 car that he was used to and accustomed to. This is the next gen car. So different tire, different suspension, no sidewall, wider tire, all that kind of stuff. He's going to have his hands full. Is it impossible? No, but that's a tall order for him.
Yeah, I agree with you. Performance-wise, I think that Jimmy will have a tough deal, but I got to give it a green flag. I think the sport does need to have Jimmy Johnson out there. I think in most cases, Jimmy is probably one of the most underrated drivers ever. With his accomplishments and what he has done, I know that the series changed and the way the points happened and the chases and stuff like that. But again, for what he came into the series and started doing, and Will, I mean, to win a race at this level and to do it what he did at the era that he did against competition, you got to give him some credit.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I haven't won ARCA race. We've been really close, and I've taken myself out of some races we should have won. But I know exactly what you're talking about, and he was winning pivotal races. He's winning races when the championship's on the line. Like this race makes your season. When you're in the chase like that, when those guys step up to the plate on the biggest stage there is in my eyes, which is the Cup Series. I mean, that's just the amount of pressure that's on them and everything that goes into that, and the car to go the distance. And when they show up to Homestead, those are the fastest four guys. And Jimmy to do that. Did he win all of his championships in the chase, or was any of them straight up points? Does anybody know that stat off?
Then I'm not too sure.
I know all the trophies are the
regardless,
new ones, so
regardless, he won probably 4 or 5 of them in the chase, and that's huge.
Yeah, it's especially when just one bad race puts you out of it now. So, but yeah, definitely agree with you guys, and appreciate all the comments, all the questions to follow up. But yeah, I'm gonna throw it to the next segment here. Give it back to Kyle here.
Alrighty, well, we're taking a small little break. We're going to hear from our other sponsor, R&R Racewear. Be back in just one moment. R&R Racewear, your source to all custom racewear apparel needs, and home to iRacing apparel. Check it out today at rnrracewear.com. Alrighty, and we're back. Before we get any deeper into our segments here, Chris, can you go ahead and tell us about this charity race that's coming up that is near and dear to all of us at IROC?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got our team member, series league member, Brandon Mefford. They've got a big race coming up, supporting Ellie's Place and Zoe's Place. Pretty much a charity race coming up to help a bunch of kids that are in need of support. Different life struggles throughout. That race is coming up, I believe, this Friday. Yeah, this Friday, racing at Michigan. We've got drivers signing up, $15 for a driver. Obviously, it being charity, they're able to give more if they would like. But I know every single one of us in this room right here are signed up, ready to rock and roll. It'll be broadcasted there, and so we'll have a link to that page up on our website, so that way you can take a look at it. So if you go to the Hot Dog Stand podcast, we're going to have it up there after the podcast here, and then we'll also have it up on the IROC series page as well. So anybody that can come out and support, definitely do that.
Yes, most definitely. And so, like Chris said, it'll be in the show notes as well on YouTube and all your podcast platforms as well. So be sure to check those out as well. We'll have a link to it completely. What else here? We've got actually Brandon Medford did post it in our fan talk section on Discord. So please be sure to check that out. If you are not a member of our Discord, please join our Discord. We would love to hear from our fans and interact with you all and get any topic ideas that you all might have that we can bring to the show as well. We'd greatly love to have you all a part of our community. So a link for that will also be in the show notes description. So be sure to get in there and join in on that. And so next we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to our newest segment. Well, it's not really a new segment, but it's a new name for our segment. It's called Flag Stand News. And it's just going to be a little rundown of some racing news, over the weekend or throughout the week. And Neil, I'm going to let you take over this area here.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. I'm gonna run through just quick tidbits for the weekend, some results, and just keeping everybody kind of halfway updated. I know the stock car guys were all over at Kansas this weekend. The series kind of started off. Our truck series kind of started it off. John Hunter Nemechek just flat dominated. Put it to him. I know that was an elimination race. Hocevar and Crafton are out of the playoffs. Have been eliminated for the playoffs, so they moved to the next one now. The Xfinity race, Gregson lucked in to close out stage 2 there. There was a battle with him and Algar Gibbs, and he ended up closing out stage 2, and the race ended up getting rain shortened, so he comes away with the Xfinity win for the weekend. In ARCA news, Corey Heim, Venturati Motorsports, ended up capping off a win over top of Nick Sanchez and Sammy Smith. Pretty good race there. And then going to the Cubs side, Bubba Wallace sneaks a win over his car owner there, Denny Hamlin. And jumping back to the dirt side a little bit here, I know big weekend, World of Outlaws out there at the Gold Cup, out at Chico. Shark Racing goes 1-2. Jacob Bowen captures his biggest win of his career, holding off his teammate Logan Schuchart. So pretty big win for them guys as they start to finish out the West Coast swing out there. And then jumping over to, before I jump to late models, let's go back over to sprint cars. We got PA going jumping coast over to the East Coast from the West Coast. The Tuscarora 50 at Port Royal. Pretty big event up there, $60,000 payday. Anthony Magri tangles with Brian Brown in the heat race. Almost wads it up big time. They end up putting it back together. He ends up going through the B main to battle his way to the A. Come from dead last in the A main and pull out to a 4-second lead and collect $60,000 up there in the Tusky 50. Pretty big, impressive win for Macri. That is his first Tuscarora 50 at Port Royal. So big deal there. And then, of course, Davenport, JD continues his dominance, his reign over late model racing with the World 100 victory, his 5th in 7 years. Basically, good race there all the way up to probably the last 20 laps. Brandon Overton and Chris Madden followed him up there in 2nd and 3rd. So them guys head up to Knoxville for the Knoxville late model nationals. So kind of weekend wrap on results and what's going on there, guys.
All right, thank you, Neil. I appreciate that. Chris and Brian, I'm going to let you all handle the IROC Challenge Series Season 5, Talladega race 5, and also race 6, Rockingham Thunder Valley. So if you want to kind of just give us a little rundown of how those 2 races went, and then we'll go on from there.
I'll give the quick overview of how the race went, and then tell my side of some things there. So 2 weeks ago, we ran race 5 at Talladega. That was the midpoint race for the regular season for us. 100 laps at Talladega. We had 39 cars start the race. Ended up with 24 on the lead lap by the end of it. We saw 48 lead changes between 14 leaders. Only had 4 cautions for 13 laps. 2 of those cautions were stage breaks. So a lot of clean racing we've seen time and time again so far this season. Large numbers and some great racing. Stage 1, I actually ended up winning stage 1 of that race. Brian won stage 2. Brian's teammate was Tim Schofield. He was, racing to get his lead lap back, and ended up losing it there in 1 and 2, and came down, hit Kyle. Kyle hit me. We're all in the front of the pack. Had a nice big wreck right there in stage 2. So that kind of messed me up a little bit for my race, and Kyle as well. And then I know coming to the checkers, Brian got caught up in the last lap big one. Neil squeaked through, Had a very impressive in-car camera there, but it would be Kevin McCann, Brian's brother, coming out on the victory with that one, having led only 3 laps the entire race.
Yeah, a lot of talent was lost on the last lap in the tri-oval.
I got to interrupt here. Timeout. All right. I got a question to ask you guys. I mean, we're talking about Super Speedway, Talladega, iRacing, and just kind of a little bit thing that happened today. So, as an iRacer or as a racer in general, Super Speedway racing, is there skill or luck? What is the majority that it takes to be a good Super Speedway racer? And Chris is smiling. He knows the way I feel about Super Speedway.
Will's over here grinning ear to
Yeah,
ear.
Strategy. I call it strategy.
Strategy. I mean, what strategy is there? It's called survival. I mean, I don't know if Will being in here at Super Speedway racing, I mean, you're just waiting to be hit, turned, flipped, spun. I mean, that's what it is. There's no strategy. It's survival.
You have to look for the risk. Like if you see a bunch of cars ahead that look like a windshield wipers, you got to avoid that. So that's part of the strategy I'm leading into. But then you also have to think about, are you mid-pack? Maybe you want to drop back to the back, just follow in a draft, that sort of thing.
Okay, I agree with you. Okay, so I'm watching this. I'm watching 2 squirrels bounce off of each other up there. So I'm checking out. I'm going to the back. Go out here and hang out. And the thing that happens, though, is those 2 guys crash. I'm hanging out in the back, and I still end up being a hood ornament for the guy that's 27 feet behind me because he decides he doesn't want to break either. It's a hell of a strategy.
That's because he's related to you, and he don't have a break.
That is true. Majority of the time, it is.
And Will, that would be his brother Cook Quick. He's got a really heavy right foot.
Actually,
that's the way to do it. If you don't hit him the first time by, come back around the second time and go ahead and take care of him there.
Oh, he will.
It's Days of Thunder style, baby.
Super Speedway racing is like 100% a chess game. I really enjoy Daytona and Talladega as a driver. It's really tricky in the ARCA series because you've got guys out there that they may have been running a quarter mile and now they're out there running 180 mile an hour with you and you're 3 inches off and they don't understand the air and how the air works and what the air does to the car. But as a driver that I have a little bit of experience doing this, we've had really good cars. You talk about a big hit at Mobil, the hardest hit I've ever taken, 17 at Talladega. I destroyed the nicest car I ever had. It was a Chevy from Roush, yeah, right. RCR that was Ty Dillon's backup. We come from 35th to 5th in about 5 laps with no right front shock on it and literally bouncing through the tri-oval with this thing, and drove her right down the middle. And it's just watching and getting that run calculated the lap before, dragging off the lap before to get the run on the backside or wherever you might need to get it, and kind of manipulating the run and the people around you to make openings or get the run and time it up to where you can split the middle. And that's kind of the stuff that a lot of people don't understand that goes on and it looks like we're all just out there holding the gas down, and that's not the case. And if you it's way more equipment oriented to where if you have a fast car, people have to help you because you can drag them around the track faster. And we've been in that. I've been on both sides of that. This year at Daytona, I fell off the back of Raja Caruth and Sanchez at the beginning of the race. We took off. I pushed them through 1 and 2. I clicked her into 4th, and when we went to 4th, they drove away from me because their aero package was so much better than mine. So I had to hide my car all race long and work my way up to 11th before we ended up getting hit on the backstretch and knocking us out. But Super Speedway racing, that's racing a whole different way. It's not like that really doesn't. None of that really relays over to any of the other racing we do all year. Sorry, another long tangent, but
No, you're
that's
good.
why I was laughing because there's totally 2 different sides of it. Luck involved, yes, absolutely.
I started it because the fact of it is I feel like that in iRacing a lot, like real racing, when it comes to restrictor plate racing, you don't normally have 15 guys that can go for the win. You have a full field of guys that think they can win. And I mean, a week leading up to that, it's kind of like I got a chance to win, so we're gonna do whatever we can, including my brother, which likes to turn his brake pedal off most of the time. He's just aiming for the hole.
This is bad. Funny story. My right foot got really hot at Talladega, like super hot, and I was struggling. I don't know why it never gets hot in places like this, but I took my foot off and actually was holding the pedal down with my left foot and had my right foot crossed over top or underneath and trying to get, because I'm taller, I was trying to get my feet up under the pedal. So there's a lot of times that I have to stretch in the cars, places like that, and I have to put my feet like between the pedals and kind of raise my legs up and stuff like that. So turning the brake pedal off, I can't do that. I can't turn my brake pedal off. But if something would have happened when I was left foot on the gas, that probably it definitely been an ARCA brake situation that we have on Facebook. I don't know if y'all know about that, but that's
Oh yeah.
what happened.
Yeah, we got ARCA brake all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I've got a
I've had that
theory. I've got a theory that, and it's come true so far in both of our either short track or Rockingham, which is a tough track just to drive. The more you have to use your brake, the less racing you actually get. You start finding out who can turn laps or not.
100%. That's true across the board. I struggle on iRacing because I can't feel the car. You know, you have to do it visually, so that's where I struggle, and I usually overdrive it terribly. So I'll just wear it out pretty quick. But that goes back to our whole situation with what's wrong with today's Cup cars, and on the big stage of stock car racing, ARCA, Truck, Xfinity, Cup, we have no power. So you take the brake pedal out of the car. You know, if we're running wide open around Kansas, whoever's got the best stuff is going to win. It really isn't. I mean, yes, it takes driver skill. I'm not saying this, and I'm just saying this as a whole. That's where I have the issue with today's racing.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So going to last week's race 6 for us. We talked about it. It's at Rockingham. We're scheduled for 150 laps. Had a little green-white checker, so ran 152. We saw 14 lead changes among 6 leaders. We did have 10 cautions in this race for 39 laps. So going back to that brake pedal,
The
we
ARCA
saw
braking.
a little bit more. That ARCA braking, we saw a little bit more of the cautions going on. We started with 27 drivers, ended with only 15 on the lead lap there. It was our Dash for Cash, our first Dash for Cash race, and it came down to a showdown between our very own Brian McCann right here and Aaron Smith. Those two were definitely the class of the field for the night. If anybody is watching the replay back here a little bit during our podcast, that was the race from last week. Aaron led 54 laps. Brian led 40 laps. And, the interval is 0.188 coming to the checkers. So it was definitely a very fun race if you could keep it clean, but an interesting race as it played out.
Definitely.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I got a question real quick on your all's iRacing deal. Is that fixed setups?
Fixed
Or are you all
setups.
setting the cars up? Okay, so what adjustments can you make during the stops?
So we can change the tires, of course, and go left, right, all
Uh-huh.
4. The fuel, change how much you want to put in there. You are able to change the brake bias throughout the race as well. And I believe during race, that's about it. I know
Yep.
you can mess with the steering ratio prior, but outside of that, and the offset.
So no air pressure.
No air
no
pressure.
air pressure.
We're all
no
on the
tire-
same
no-
stuff, just about.
Yeah, no, we're
I
imprisoned.
gotcha. That's IROC. Oh, that's why it's IROC series then,
That's
right?
why it's the
Yeah.
IROC series.
I got you. All right.
Yep, my vision was to bring that style, that idea, concept back into the sim world, and it's been a lot of fun with these guys so far.
It's a shame you can't get a Trans Am, huh?
Oh man, I tell you what, I've been asking for it. I'll get on Twitter and send something out to Junior all the time. About 2 years ago, I was begging for it.
Well, this man here has a connection with Junior. He might be able to put the little bird in his ear there.
We need it. We need it.
So,
Just tell him to go talk to Ray Everham. He's got a couple of these right here sitting around.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Go scan that thing.
There was a guy that was track daying one of the what they call the purple ones. I can't remember what they called. They called them all some different color, but it was the purple and white Crown Royal car that Mark Martin drove, and he had it. He had bought it from an auction, and it had the motor transmission. It still had an oval track transmission in it, and he's track daying it at New Jersey. And I was like, oh, man. All right, I'm not gonna say anything, but I would set that thing in my garage and talk about it. I'm not gonna take it to the racetrack.
Right. Paid way too much for it, I'm sure.
No, yeah, I'm sure he did. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap that up for talking about the last two races. And we want to apologize to everyone for last week with the holiday and everyone's schedule. We just couldn't get around to making an episode. So we decided just to kind of put it all into one episode a week later. But with that being said, Neil and Chris and Will, if you want to, go ahead and get your notepads out. Brian's going to give us some tips here in just a minute after this ad. So take your notes, boys. Back in just 1 second. Are you looking for the next sim rig upgrade? Or maybe your man cave needs a little more style? Or is your wife wanting to redecorate your home? Well, we here at Supreme 3D Printing have you covered. We create and print tons of different and useful items that is sure to fit everyone's style and budget. Check us out on Etsy at etsy.com/shop/Supreme 3D Printing. If you don't see what you're needing, then feel free to contact us for your needed item. Alrighty, and we are back for McCann's Pit Road Tips. McCann, what you got for us today, man?
So a little bit different this time. I actually typed it all out instead of me just on here blabbering, so I'm going to read off my screen here. In the world of computer gaming, your computer runs the simulation and the monitor displays the results to your eyes. There is a delay between the simulation and what your eye sees. Your eyes are seeing something that has happened in the past. After your mind compensates for this, you become in sync with the simulation. If you've played the same game for a while, then changed your hardware or went to a friend's house and played the same game on their hardware, you may have noticed the game seemed a little off. One thing that can cause this is your mind is having to relearn those delays. How does this affect iRacing? Frames per second, stuttering, and juddering are three things to pay attention to. Number of frames per second only helps so much, as iRacing isn't as fast-paced as some other high-motion games. Stuttering and juddering seem to affect me the most in iRacing. This is where G-Sync and FreeSync, if you have AMD graphics, will help tremendously. Stuttering is when a frame appears for too long and is usually caused by low frame rates. Your computer is able to keep up and your monitor is left with the last frame. Juddering is inconsistent frames. For example, Windows decides to update mid-race. These small interruptions can break your mind sync with the simulation. In iRacing, you can be slower or maybe even potentially cause a wreck, which is a good excuse if you ever need one after running into nil quick. Your computer generates these frames at variable speeds. Your monitor by default is operating at a static pace. That's the problem. Vertical sync is an older technology that attempted to fix this, but not commonly used by gamers because it causes additional issues and overall isn't ideal in competitive gaming. G-Sync and FreeSync take a different approach to solving this problem. Moral of the story: if your hardware doesn't support G-Sync or FreeSync, lower your graphics to a minimum. This will allow your computer to generate as many frames per second as possible to reduce the probability of stutter. If you're in the market for new hardware, spend a little extra to get the equipment that supports it. If your hardware already supports it, enable it. More importantly, make sure it's working. Many modern monitors, especially gaming monitors, will have a feature you can enable through the monitor menu options where the monitor will show its frequency on screen. I myself have experienced times when the settings were enabled on a computer, but the monitor was not responding correctly. This monitor option allows you to confirm it is working, as well as being able to see the frequency on the monitor change as the computer changes frame rates. Also, if you're not aware, NVIDIA enabled what they call NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency Mode on iRacing in February 2022. Go into your iRacing graphics option and enable it if you have a GTX 900 series or newer.
Alrighty, Brian. Thank you for that story out of the McCann Bible. I appreciate that.
So I dropped my pen like somewhere in the beginning. If you could go back through that so I could take notes.
Put a screenshot up.
Will's like, what in the world am I listening to?
I gotta go.
I'm still gonna call it the way it is, cheater.
I'm trying to explain it.
No, actually, Brian is what he's explaining is 100% true. When Brian and Kevin started updating hardware and equipment, and they were very helpful with myself, I have FreeSync on my computer, and it made all the world in the difference, making it buttery smooth and keeping the stutter and the judders out. And from what he's saying, identically to myself. I mean, I was having races and would get 35, 40 minutes in and be diving down the corner at Nashville Super Speedway, and I would get a stutter, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And after doing some of the stuff that he just said and he went through, it absolutely eliminated that, and it basically syncs everything up. Your refresh rates on your monitors, the support with your video card being NVIDIA. Uh, Read up on all this because it does make 100% the truth and makes a big difference.
Definitely, definitely.
And definitely ignore those notes I'm adding zeros on there, guys.
Alrighty. Chris, you got anything you want to put towards that?
Nope.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the last bit here, and that's gonna be our NASCAR playoff picks. And Will, we're gonna let you pick for our other host, Brian Rick, who I said earlier was not here. And I'm gonna tell you what. So we had Bobby Hamilton on last episode, and he picked for Chris, and I'll be damned if he didn't win for Chris. So maybe you can win one for Brian.
When you sent me the results and you said I had won, I was like, I'll take it, but I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, so Bobby won for you.
So Will can pick for me if he'd like. I'll pick for
So we're gonna let,
2 for 2.
if Will wants to, he can pick for Brian. If not, we might just put names in a hat. So, but we're gonna go down the list of who goes first, because we are gonna go in order who won. So, Chris, you get first picks on who you want for Bristol. Remember, it is a cutoff race.
I am going to go with somebody who is hungry and pissed off, and that would be Kevin Harvick.
Okay. Yep, he's free for you to pick. All right, next on the list is Mr. Neil Quick.
I'm going with Denny Hamlin.
Oh, wait. I was wrong on this. I need Will to pick first because Brian won. I was reading off week 1. We're on going into week 3 now. Brian, so actually, Will, once you pick for
Way
Brian.
to screw this up.
Yeah, I really chopped the hell out of this one. All right.
Come on.
So you pick.
It's not, my pick's not going to screw theirs up. It's good. You're good.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the 2 names that they've already picked that can't be used, and the first one's going to be Hamlin, and the other one's going to be LaJoy.
Okay, yeah. I mean, going to Bristol, I got to go with Logano.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to move you. You're going to get hit. So
Count on
if
it.
he's in the hunt, you got to go with him.
All right, good pick. Next pick is going to be Mr. Neil Quick.
I can't pick Hamlin?
I mean, you can. He's on your list.
All right, I'm taking Hamlin.
All right, and then next would be me. So I'm going to go. I don't want to go big early, but I don't.
Stroker Ace all the way.
So I'm actually going to pick. I think it's going to be. Oh, I hate to use him up now, but I'm going to go Elliott. I'm going to say he's moving on with a win at Bristol. All right, and then McCann.
Suarez.
You want Suarez? Okay. Let's see here. And then Chris, I'm guessing you still want Harvick?
Still want Harvick.
All right.
See, McCann's working that strategy again. He's going to go ahead and take Suarez out of the picture now. So when the races really matter at the end, he's got some guys to choose from.
All right. So I'm trying to get all this typed in here. So our picks are locked in.
Suarez made it.
Yeah, our picks are locked in for sure now, guys. So Everybody be sure to tune into the NASCAR race. It is Saturday night, correct?
Hang on, I'm changing my pick.
Oh, I kind of locked him in, but I'll give you one mulligan, being it's a cutoff race.
Yeah, Brian threw me off. It's his fault. I'm going to take Reddick.
Low redemption.
Yeah, I think he's due. I hope he is.
Well, I'll be there Saturday night, so I'm going to wear this shirt and take a banana peel, and if he's out front, I'll just throw it out there on the track for him.
What did I do to you?
I can't let you win.
Take McCann's guy out.
McCann's guy's going to be in the back. He's going to take himself out.
You're
this
the one
is
that
strategy
won.
by McCann. This is strategy. He's trying
That's
to
why
get rid of that guy early.
That's why he's good at the restrictor plate races.
Listen, I told you. Race 1 of Season 2. Will, you'll like this. Real quick story before then. Race 1, Season 2. It's the last time I had a freaking victory in my own league. Past Brian, last lap, there was a wreck on turn 3. He's already thinking points. He just let me pull out and pass him for the win because he wasn't going to wreck and lose just a few points. Race 1, first race ever in the league, he's thinking points. Then he goes on to win the championship.
Maybe that's why I don't win, because I would have wrecked you. What are you laughing about, Kyle? That last week, there's still videos out there on the internet of what you did.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I do.
So, all right, guys. I think that is going to do it for us for the night, though. I want to give a big shout out to Will for coming on and blessing us with his time. We did run a little over, but that's all right. I hope he's okay with that. It's been wonderful talking to you, Will. I've really enjoyed it. I look forward to actually hanging out with you at Salem and even Friday night, kind of just doing a little pre-thing with you there at the shop and getting a look around. And we're going to do a time-lapse video of loading the trailer up and whatnot. So I think it's going to be really cool. I can't wait for that. Guys, do y'all have any other thoughts?
I just want to say thank you. I thought it was kind of cool, some of the stuff we got to learn from Will and the racing and the family and stuff like that. So really awesome to kind of have the opportunity to do the podcast and get to talk to the drivers that you kind of are fans of here.
Yeah, absolutely. All of us here on this podcast, we're all spread out. We all know each other from our league. Florida, North Carolina, Indiana, Missouri. We're spread out all over. We appreciate you taking the time, especially on your busy week. Like you said, if it's not racing, you got the kids. And so I understand the kids part of it. So, yeah, thank you very much for your time.
No problem, guys. I had a good time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Brian, you got anything you need to say?
Just everybody else is staying here. Thank you for your time.
All righty. With that,
appreciate it, guys.
No problem. And with that being said, we are the Hot Dog Stand. Thank you all for listening and watching. Be sure to check us out on all social medias. You got Facebook, you got YouTube. What else we got, guys? We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We are now on iHeartRadio as well, and we will be also on I forgot what else is there. Spotify. Anchor. Yeah. Well, Anchor is the host that distributes it out, but yes. So with that, we are out of here, guys. I thank each and every one of y'all for listening. Y'all have a good and wonderful week. We will see you all next week.
Get up on your feet, this is a shakedown. Order up that beat just like it's takeout. Show me you got soul inside those new shoes.